In this tutorial, we'll set up your FreeNAS device to run Btsync. Btsync is a free, unlimited, secure file syncing app. Btsync allows you to sync files across computers instead of storing them in the cloud. A special thanks to community member Josh Rulig for creating the Btsync plugin to work with FreeNAS. In the FreeNAS web user interface, you'll need to create a user and group for Btsync. On the left side menu, click the account dropdown. Then Users. Choose Add New User. Create a new user named Btsync with the user ID as 817. This is critical later. Make sure the user ID matches exactly. Leave Create a new primary group for this user checked. Fill something into the full name field. I'll name it Btsync and choose a password. Then click OK to create the user. Next, click the storage button on the top menu. This will take you to the Volumes tab. There are two options to add a volume, ZFS and UFS. You need to use a ZFS file system in order to install plugins. Click ZFS Volume Manager to bring up the dialog to create a new volume. Give your volume a name. I'll call this Your Volume. Click plus to add all available disks to this volume. This only works if all your disks are identical. I am currently on the new FreeNAS Mini, and there are 4 1TB drives in this machine. FreeNAS will automatically choose an ideal RAID type for the number of disks you have. In this case, it chose a stripe of ZFS mirrors, which is like RAID 10. In RAID terminology, a mirror is a group of disks in which all the disks have the same data. In this setup, there are 2 separate mirrors being striped together, meaning that the data for the file system is distributed evenly between the pairs. This setup has excellent performance and data protection, but you only get to use half of the maximum capacity of the disk. Let's say I want to use more of the maximum capacity of my disk while still having protection. In this case, I would want to use RAID Z. To set up RAID Z, click on the slider button on the bottom right. Drag it up so the disks are in a single RAID group and all the way to the right. I'll then change the setting on the left to RAID Z. RAID Z is like RAID 5 in that it spreads the RAID recovery or parity information across all the disks, which reduces the maximum capacity of the group by 1 disk. FreeNAS will warn me that this is not an ideal configuration. ZFS performs best when you use groups of disks that are powers of 2 plus the level of RAID protection. So in this case, 5 total drives would be ideal. However, at such a low disk count, the performance difference is barely noticeable. RAID Z2 works the same way as RAID Z, except that 2 drives will be used for parity, which is considered a more optimal setting in that the groups of disks are powers of 2 plus the level of RAID protection. However, this will have worse performance than RAID Z because you have more of the space dedicated to parity instead of actual data. You will also lose capacity since another disk will be devoted to parity. Now that I've selected my RAID level, I'll click Add Volume and wait for the volume to be created. And now you can see that your volume has been added to this list. For this next step, we will be creating a ZFS dataset. A ZFS dataset is like an advanced folder system inside your volume. With the dataset, you can do things like have different compression settings, deduplication settings, or quota settings. These settings can be applied separately from the rest of the file systems. Select the volume you just made. Click Create ZFS Dataset on the bottom menu. Give this dataset a name. I'll call this Plugin Jails. We will be needing this for our plugin template. Click Add Dataset when done. Next, create another dataset for the folder you'll be syncing with Btsync. Again, select the volume. Click on Create ZFS Dataset on the bottom menu. I'll call this one Your Files. Then click Add Dataset when done. After we set up the plugin, all of your files you upload will end up here. The datasets you just created should be listed under your volume. Next, we'll be setting up permissions. Setting permissions on your volume or dataset will allow specific groups or users to access your folders and files. Click on the Your Files dataset you just created and click Change Permissions on the bottom menu. This will bring up the permissions dialog. Type in Btsync for both user and group. Give both user, owner, and group read and write permissions. You can leave other at read and execute. This is important to make sure that Btsync can write to the folder later. Then click Change when done. Now we can configure the jails. Now click Jails on the top menu, then click the Configuration tab. Under Jail Root, click Browse and click through the folders until you can select the dataset you created called Plugin Jails. Then save the settings. Now we can finally install the BitTorrent Sync plugin. Click Plugins on the top menu. This will bring up a list of available plugins. Click on Btsync and then click Install at the bottom of the window. Click OK to install the plugin. A progress bar will appear showing the progress of the plugin download, which will take a while depending on your internet connection. I will fast forward this. Once the download and installation are complete, go to the Install tab and turn on the Btsync service. Make sure it says On next to Btsync. Return to the Jails tab and make sure you're on the Jails page and not the configuration page. Select a new jail, which will be called something like Btsync. Click Add Storage on the bottom menu. For source, browse to the second dataset you made, which was your files. For destination, you can either type a custom path such as /btsync or choose an existing empty folder such as /media. Click OK to save the mount point. From the left side menu, click the Plugins drop down, then click the Btsync button. The settings for Btsync will appear. You won't need to modify any of these settings, so just click the link under here to access the Btsync web user interface. It will take you to another tab in your browser. When you go to add a folder, make sure it's the one you selected as the destination when adding storage earlier. I chose the media folder. Click the Generate button to create a code that will be used to sync to your device. Click Add when done. You can add more folders by repeating the process when making a dataset, changing the user and group permissions, and adding storage to the Btsync jail. Once that is done, click the secret/QR button. We'll be returning to this step in a moment. BitTorrent Sync offers its client on several operating systems such as Windows, Mac, FreeBSD, Android, iOS, etc. You can find them at bittorrent.com/sync/downloads. For the setup, you basically add your sync folder by scanning the QR code or entering the secret code. For this example, I'm going to test out the Btsync app on iOS. Go ahead and download the BitTorrent Sync app on the App Store on your iOS device. Open up the app and press the Add Folder icon on the top right. Scan the QR code from the Btsync plugin browser page, or manually enter the code given to you. Enter a name for your folder. I'll call it Media. Press the check button on the top right or return when done. It should list your phone's name, devices connected. On the iOS BitTorrent Sync app, upload a file such as a picture. Then go back to the Btsync plugin page and it should tell you if a file was added or not. And that's it for setting up the Btsync plugin. Any file you upload from your iOS device should sync with FreeNAS. That concludes our video on FreeNAS 9215 BitTorrent Sync plugin. This video was made possible by IX Systems, the sponsor and developer of the FreeNAS project. Many people have asked, how can they support the FreeNAS project? For those interested, we offer a wide range of storage products that leverage FreeNAS. For enterprise customers that need high availability and 24/7 support, we have TrueNAS. For business customers that need powerful and rock-solid FreeNAS storage, we offer FreeNAS certified storage. For home and small office use, we offer the FreeNAS Mini. For more information, visit ixsystems.com/storage.